Dr. Smiley, your host at If Your Mouth Could Talk. Today, I have a great fortune of doing this podcast with one of my good friends and experts in one of the areas of the body that I personally believe is very important in controlling your autonomic nervous system, digestions, and a lot of symptomatology my patients bring to me, the Bone Atlas. I have here with me today Dr. RJ Gyllenhaal. See, I could say it right. RJ, thank you so much for giving me a portion of your day. I know you're busy and so excited to have you here because I have been talking to you forever and bring your perspective to my audience. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks, Dr. Bahar. I'm happy to be here, excited,
Beautiful.
And let's roll.
Let's do it. Okay, so RJ, there's so many parents, patients, young, old, they're all listening to this, and they usually log into my podcast because they either have breathing issues or sleep issues. So today I want to narrow down our focus, bringing what you think is necessary for them to know about the position of the neck, upper cervical, most important, the ring atlas, and what does it all fit into this whole grand scheme. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So I've been a chiropractor for 18 years. I focus on the atlas, which is the upper bone in the neck, or the occiput or C2, because that's the three bones where the brainstem exits foramen magnum and it comes down. So a lot of people have the inclination or the knowledge that the number one thing the spine does is protect the spinal cord.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that's incorrect. The number one thing your spine does from occiput, atlas, and C2 is protect the brainstem. So that brainstem is the most vital communication between brain and body. That's everything. That's your life. That's, every nervous system works from brainstem. Mm-hmm. So if atlas is off or occiput or C2, then that brainstem's compromised.
I call it the rock occiput. That's holding your cerebellum, majority of the weight of your brain. And what do you see when you look at somebody? What do you see?
Postural deviation, right? Major postural discrepancies. So a lot of people come in we'll tell them I always notice in a photo my shoulder's high or my ears are off, or the eye doctor had to put one of my glasses, bend the frame of my glasses.
Yeah.
Well, that's all deviation or discrepancies of the nervous system. So when that atlas goes, we'll get a head tilt. Neurologically, the brain goes, my eyes got to see straight. Because if we walk around with a head tilt, we're going to go into a wall or fall off a cliff. So what happens is the hips, which you call your foundation in the basement, a hip will come high, right? So when the head is tilted, the hip raises, and then a shoulder will drop and change to bring you level. So your body will produce a feeling that you're level, but you're actually posturally distorted. Wow. And so then that can cause knee issues, hamstring issues, quad issues. It can cause psoas issues, and up the spine, it can cause scoliosis. It can cause so many issues.
All is an attempt to do what, RJ?
Realign or allow the nervous system to walk straight.
So body is in a compensation to make the alignment happen. And one of the things I'm passionate about is that you can both respire and breathe in that position without your head falling forward.
Right.
And it's survival.
It is, right? And our body is so innately designed to thrive, right? Or actually, I take that back. We're not innately designed to thrive. We're innately designed to keep us alive.
Survive.
Survive, because thrive and survive are completely different.
Yeah.
So we always tell people when you set that atlas, immediately I can clear those postural deviations and allow the nervous system to come back online. Yeah. And then as the nervous system comes back online, it can send signals out to every organ, cell, and tissue better than it was.
Yeah.
And then healing can happen in that state. So it puts you in a state of rest and ease and peace, other than being that fight or flight.
Social engagement, sharing your gift with the world, pursuing the higher self, having goals in life rather than just every minute brain is consumed with how am I going to coordinate myself while the structure is not working, neurology is changing neuroplastically. And the older we get with that position, the harder it is to break those survival habits.
Yep.
To rewire the brain. Now, RJ, I want to bring it down to, because we have on this side a dentist, and on the other side we have a chiropractor. And that's a question to many people, like, what is our professions really trading off that up until now hasn't been mainstream? And I'm really trying hard to make that mainstream. Why the mouth and the neck are two sides of the same coin. Let's do this. I actually made a post not too long ago, which a lot of people kind of thought it was offensive because I said, molars help us walk. And for proper gait cycles, we do need our mouth. Now, we're as bipedal mammals. We stand on 2 feet. No other mammals can do that. We stand on 2 feet base of support. And as we do that, our head needs to stay in the center of gravity. You just alluded right now, just if the head is tilted to one side, only here, all the senses in our head need to come together and relay that information from proper orientation to the brain. So the brain has to get that information to make an executive decision on how to posture you. Now, what are those information that is very important to the brain comes from the molars. So if you're looking at the head, the entire, the cranium, on one hand, we have our heavy part, which is occiput C0. That's the base of our head sitting on atlas. On the other side is our maxilla, first molars to be exact, supported by mandible. It's almost like that's how we go through life, and supporting our head is with mouth and neck. What we just observed with your daughter, if you feel comfortable sharing with
100%.
that, tell us what happened there, because that might just really nail it. I mean, this is a patient that basically grew up with you.
Yep.
And what did you observe just 10 minutes ago?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because my wife is always telling my daughter to stand up straight, right? And like we notice her posture as chiropractors, we look at people's posture all the time, and we want to help get it better. And so with my daughter, like she couldn't do it. Like we'd tell her to stand up straight, but it'd be a fight and it wouldn't happen. And so we were here today, and Dr. Bahar put some wooden sticks in her mouth on her right-hand side, and immediately her posture went upright. You could like her head went straight, all the rotation was out, their shoulders were back, and it was just amazing. Then we'd take the sticks out and she'd go right back to bad posture. So it's interesting because you asked that question, why is a dentist and a chiropractor here? Well, it's interesting because a lot of people think dentists are teeth, right? But you're actually everything in the mouth, and everything in the mouth is bone. We forget that teeth are bone. And so it's like an amazing thing to say, well, they're bone doctors, but most people think dentists just do fillings, right? Cavities, dentists, but it's not. It's in school, I was never trained on anything and any adjusting inside the mouth. Like there was courses you could do for that, but that was not what we did. So if you think about it, if chiropractor's job is to, stimulate the nervous system through bone and moving of bones, well, if you have to have someone fix that bone, which is the mandible, maxilla, everything in the mouth and the teeth, right? So it would come in full circle then to make sense that they partner up if they're doing the right work. Like I'm not going to go tell a dentist how to do a filling. Like that's not what we do. And they're not going to tell me how to adjust because that's not the same thing. But you need that expert that's going to say, it's like you always say, the mandible drives and it's part of that, and the tongue. Well, that's stuff that I can't touch. I can stimulate the brain enough and get the atlas. So in my world, the way I look at it is if atlas is stable, then you can adjust anything below atlas. Because if atlas is off, no matter what you adjust, it's going to go right back off because that atlas is driving the neurology.
And I tell you what, RJ, this is really cool you mentioned that, because what's above the atlas? O on A or A on O.
Right.
So is it atlas that's getting the ground force, uneven ground force, because of the sensory information that was relayed to the brain from brainstem, from eyes, teeth, they all telling the brain how to turn, how to orient itself. Is it really those sensory information causing the short right leg? Or is it because of the instability in the pelvis and really a damage from ground up sensory information or reflexes that are telling the brain how to be? Or atlas is positioning itself, and now the occiput and all these structures attached to it, eyes, ears, mouth, now those are complying with what the ground is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I would say, like, you talk about instability of the pelvis. Well, yeah, if the atlas is off, you're going to have an unstable pelvis because one side's going to want to go high to bring that eye back, like you said. And that's why you get that rotation, like you never rotated pelvis, because if your head is tilted and turned, the other side's going to have to rotate to bring your eyes back level. So
you know what, RJ, what has been really missed in translation, and I have a lot of audience in my podcast that are dental professionals, and I'm really wanting you to speak to this, because what we don't see in the mouth is what atlas, cervical spine to be exact, C2, the vertebra with the tooth, impacts what we are trying to achieve in the mouth. Because as the base support, here we've got a car, 2 tires in the front and 2 tires in the back. And when one side is, you got a flat tire, let's say your daughter, for example, both tires in the front are flat, but one more so. Right. So basically the car is lopsided. So all I did is I put the jack in the front with those few sticks. Now you can change the tire and basically get that balance back up again. Whatever structure below the skull, below the cranium that is uneven by the time the child has a full articulating dentition, 12 to 14 is when that happens. When they are fully articulating, we're basically locked in that position from top down. Before 12, the body is shaping the mouth. After 12 years old, the mouth is now negatively impacting everything. And it's a lot of growth and development milestones that need to be hit, coordinated with the eruption of the teeth, practically from birth onward. 6-month-old, we get front 2 teeth, we get molars, the kids that start to crawl, and then they get to stand to walk, propel through space. Literally the periodontal ligaments of the teeth, and you said it, teeth are joints, teeth are bones. Periodontal ligaments of the teeth, they are wired straight to the brain, by the way. They don't go to the brain stem. Isn't that cool? Like, brain has such a biological investment through the teeth and structures in the mouth that has wired one of the most important nerves, cranial nerve number 5, to the mouth. And yet, we're just looking at teeth as if they're just whatever position they're articulating, and that's where most dentists restore them. We're not looking beyond, okay, when we're having them tap, 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 adjust their bite. What is that position? It's a dysfunctional position. We restore their broken teeth in that position, not knowing why they broke in the first place. And this is the podcast title is If Your Mouth Could Talk. Literally, I could reverse engineer malocclusion to explain the neck, posture, pelvis, even gait cycle, where they can or cannot move. It's all written all over their mouth.
Right. It's simple, right? Like you see a kid with a lot of cavities and we talk about pH. You know, I'm not going to talk more, like I'm not the dentist,
please
right?
do. I would love
like,
to hear your perspective.
It's like, okay, so if there's a pH imbalance, what controls pH? And then you're saying salivary glands, all this other stuff, but no, it's the brain. So the brain is the brain's the pharmacy, the brain's the pharmacist, the brain's the chemical center.
That's true.
And if the chemicals can't get there because of an atlas or occiput or C2 misalignment, then the store that it produces, the quality of goods is not going to be better. And maybe it can't get this and it's overshooting this. So it's like, you asked that question, what do dentists need to know? Well, if a patient comes in any age and there's trauma, so birth to falls to anything, then you need to know they need to be getting adjusted because there's trauma.
You said pH. I mean, I really, because somebody hear this is like, wait. You're telling me my neck is off and it's changing the pH in my mouth. Let's talk about that for a second. What drives the pH?
Oh,
I know, I'm putting Dr. Dardy.
Yeah,
well, actually, let's have a dialogue about this because I really can provide some perspective. Really, the breath is to me the dial to everything.
Okay.
So our voltage and our breathing is meant to charge our voltage, which is in fact our pH is dialed to our voltage. So Dr. Jerry Tennant, I really love him. His book, Healing His Voltage, is an amazing book. He's an MD, talking about the pH, which is the H plus hydrogen, the concentration. Our body has a very tight regulation on the pH. Outside of that, we're dead. 735 to 745. So that regulation is dialed directly into the way we manage oxygen and electrons through our breath.
Okay.
So mitochondrial function plays into that, but getting the oxygen delivered, hence why we need to breathe, because oxygen charge our electricity, obviously you know that, and voltage. So when our pH in the mouth is down to like, and we're never acidic, like plus, I believe it's plus 0.8 pH in the mouth. We can take the litmus test and see what a pH is, and plus 0.8 is the true pH we are in, between 735 and 745. So the pH in the mouth is set according to the gas exchanges and a whole host of other things that is tied to our respiration. Now think about this. Our brain, the most important organ, you mentioned it, is the pharmacy. It's the driver of it all. It requires it's the most metabolically active organ in our entire body for good reasons. And the metabolic byproducts and all of this byproduct of the usage of the ATP, they build up on the brain. Hence why we sleep, to remove this metabolic buildups during this pressure on us to go to bed with circadian rhythm kicking in, so the brain can clear all this, adenosine shells, I say, like the gum, like this byproducts need to be removed, and it cannot be removed when we're in beta waves, when we're awake, not even in meditation, only in delta. Right?
So, but to get there though, you first have to be at a fight or flight.
Exactly. So why is the brain not transitioning to delta? As a matter of fact, I'm starting a whole host of things about transition to delta. Why are we not going to delta?
Because there's subluxation in the upper cervical spine, right? Like if you want to talk about breath, when you're running from a tiger, like you can't breathe very well. Like you have shallow breathing. Well, that's 90% of Americans, right? It's even worse right now in the tech, right? So like there's tech brain disorders from staring at screens, and everyone thinks it's posture. Well, posture goes because the brain gets fatigued.
And then what gets affected is respiration. So
100%.
Our ill posture impacts the flow of basically spinal fluid to and from the brain, which has to do everything with the position of the posture in the neck or the spine. And when that fluid doesn't get exchanged, toxicity build up on the brain adds a secondary layer of anxiety on the brain,
Yep.
which is why transition, when I look at sleep tests, RJ, I see a lot of theta dominance, RAM dominant, light sleepers. They're in bed. It's like your phone is charged, plugged to the wall. You've been in bed 8 hours, but you wake up and you're groggy and your sleep test is 40% in RAM. It's almost like your brain doesn't trust you to sleep.
No, it's not. It doesn't trust you to sleep. It's waiting for that monster, that robber, that tiger, that bear to come and attack you. So it wants you to get up and go, right? You're stuck in fight or flight.
But that tiger never comes.
No, but it's inside you. So the stress is from the inside.
Yes.
And that's why I teach people all the time when I do stress talks is that they think where the stress is the outside world. No, the outside world is an adaptation. Your body needs to take that in and allow it to work better.
I have a better term, RJ, resilience.
Yeah.
It's my new word. As a matter of fact, the world was meant to put pressure and stresses on us for what reason? To shape us into humans.
Right.
We can't breathe out our space because we need gravity. We need atmospheric pressure to keep us grounded. But the same pressure, if you're unable to match that neurologically, orthopedically from inside out, via proper pH, respiration, fluids in our body, we are going to deform.
Yeah.
Lose range of motion and or start to break down. And as we break down, nerves get impinged, one of the most important, vagus, which you know all about.
Yep.
I mean, if you only look at humans as how did they get to this low vagal tone and why is their brain perception of safety is in danger? Like you said, the tiger that never shows up. And another amazing thing that makes us human is our reticular system, our hippocampus, which animals, the tiger you mentioned, they get chased. Either they get caught, somebody eats them, or they don't.
Yep.
They flee and they go back to grazing and they don't remember that tiger anymore. Not so much with humans, is it?
Right. Because we have that learned behavior and things like that. But, physiology standpoint too, like our physiology is weakened.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of people talk about the vagus and polyvagal theory. And I'm like, it's still brainstem. Like you're missing the component that if the brainstem is compromised, vagus nerve can't work.
True that. I mean, I see patients all the time when I test them, their bodies. I run some sophisticated, pseudomotor testings, heart rate variability testings on patients as we put them through some of their drills with the Valsalva maneuver breathing. And when we push them into sympathetic, I can see how their heart rate variability plummets and their voltage goes down.
Yep.
And that's a simulation of what their brain is going through pretty much all the time. And how do we get them out of there? And I want you to tell me and my audience a little bit about what you do and what miracles have you seen in your practice?
I mean, it's awesome, right? Like we get to bring people in, we do a neurological evaluation, we take special x-rays to see the atlas position in line with the occiput.
Yep.
Okay, then we do a special adjustment with a protractor to set that atlas, and then immediately that system comes back online. So right now, one of the biggest things we're helping a lot of people with in our office is vertigo and dizziness. I have people driving from Wyoming and Nebraska to come and see me for this. People are finding us on TikTok, which I don't have a TikTok channel, but I'm an upper cervical doc, and through UCC near me, people can find an upper cervical doctor that can help you with this stuff. But I mean, there's been everything in our office, from kids with constipation issues that weren't pooping to people with MS. Like we had a guy heal the lesions of MS in his brain. He stopped the drugs.
Like heal the lesions.
The lesions were gone. And then they went back in and, the doctors were like, what was the medication? It was, I stopped taking it. And they go, well, we misdiagnosed you. Right. And he knows that we got his body to heal. I have sarcoidosis.
Parkinson's disease. I see a lot of.
Well, again, you're not going to, that's almost like end range. But when we've helped people with Parkinson's, their tremors stopped. They were able to do things like
So it was not a dopamine issue, you're telling me?
Right. It's a posture, right? That when that head comes forward, it just stops everything. And that's, you look at Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, you look at the person's neck from the side, and majority of them have so much forward head posture. And you see them when they walk. They're like this. Their head are forward. They're all down. They can't breathe.
One thing you taught me the first time I met you, and I've got the best adjustment from you, by the way, to this day. I remember it. You put my daughter's atlas in a good position. I have it before and after picture. It's unreal.
Right.
And one of the things you taught me, you said, atlas is the dimmer switch. And it just clicked in. I'm like, I knew it, but I needed to hear that.
Yep.
And I referenced you in one of my podcasts. Atlas is the dimmer switch. Tell us why.
Because again, if it rotates, it compresses brainstem. And then every signal in the body, we're energy, right? That energy is decreased. The energy doesn't go away. It's in you. So it's like an overload. It's either going to break, right? The breakers in the house break when there's too much energy input. So when it dims, then it can't get signals out. And so that's what causes the break in the body.
Yeah.
So then you get a symptom that's telling you that there's not enough signals going to that part of the body and the body can't work. So it's not too much signals, it's less signals.
And I tell you, one of the areas I look at now, and I'm sure you've heard of the word lymphatics, and up until 10, 12 years ago, we didn't know that brain and eyes, because they have brain matters in them, they have their own dedicated lymphatic system drainage, which astrocytic activities and aquaphor channels and all that jazz. So basically, it's like a washing machine, I call it, that in delta brain, the brain basically kind of opens up those channels, gets CSF fluid into the interstitial fluid, kind of soak up all this gunks from the beta amyloids, buildups, proteins, kind of like remove those shells, and then astrocytes going to squeeze in everything and put them into lymphatics, sensible lymphatics, and then shut down the channels when we transition to theta. The problem is that juicy delta sleep we need for brain balance, Alzheimer's disease you mentioned, autism you mentioned. We know a lot of Parkinson's, all of those are related to this buildup of proteins on the brain that is damaging the brain, wave cycling. Concussion can be another reason. When those buildups happen, the major driver of that, or the sewage system, irrigation, if you will, is the connection of the head to the spine, sitting between atlas and occiput, that foramen magnum. When that position is off, that drainage stops. Now we have fluids building up in the brain. It's almost like your brain is sitting in sewage water. And that causes a whole host of fatigue, anxiety, and yes, lack of transition to delta. It's like an airplane trying to take off. They have a 20 checkpoint list. And when your brain is trying to transition to delta, looks at that and it goes, I'm not going anywhere. There's no safety. I'm not taking this airplane off. We wonder why people are just laying in bed. And again, I'm not trying to claim that that's the only reason. But when I look at sleep tests, I look at structures in the head, I look at structures in the posture. The first thing I'm asking is, how did you end up with such a pathological posture? And what doesn't flow when you're in this position? And 100% of the time, upper cervical and the mouth is major driver, and atlas is basically underneath trying to stabilize and keep you from falling forward. And the body locks up, and everything we talked about until this point is just, they come and hit the laundry list of symptoms and medications, right? You and I see. How many patients have you taken off the med? Because I've seen your jar.
Well, I can't say I've taken them off, but we've adjusted them. We got their nervous system to regulate where they no longer needed the medications.
So can you say safely that dysregulated nervous system, dysautonomia, is the driver of a lot of digestive, hormonal, gut, mood disorders that people need meds for?
100%.
So do you think that a good, proper orthopedic alignment can give the nervous system a chance to do its job so we don't need medications?
Yes.
Can we say that we're living in a state of most people highly medicated and call it a healthy state?
Yep, right? Like it's insane.
I really appreciate you. RJ, I know you have a big heart. And I just love your passion for what you do and how you just love helping humans. Now, I want to give you a shout out here. If people want to find you, do you have any, information you can put out there for them? Just like, that's a cool doctor, I want to meet him. Where would they find you?
Go to igetitchiropractic.com. So I get it chiropractic.
You get it.
I get it. igetitchiropractic.com. I think there's an IGIC Chiro or I Get It Chiro on Instagram. A Facebook page, I Get It Chiropractic. I'm not that.
You're not a celebrity?
No, I'm just.
Oh, well, let's change that.
I just love adjusting people and helping people reach their potential.
I know that more than anything, I think you're doing a great job. You're doing a fantastic job, and having doctors like you in my roster, my village. It's just been amazing. More amazing has been the information you exchanged with me. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and knowledge. You guys, this episode was brought to you with Dr. RJ, who graciously agreed to be a guest today. I hope you found something. If you did, please share it with someone who does. Stay healthy.